These days, I meet a lot of self-described Lacktheists who say that because they are a Lacktheist, they have no burden of proof. Is that true? Well, first let's define Lacktheism. A Lacktheist is a person who says they lack belief in God's existence. This is what was traditionally called agnosticism, more specifically, soft agnosticism or weak agnosticism, the idea that one is simply personally without belief in God. And that's different from strong or hard agnosticism, which takes a much stronger stance and says that nobody can know or have a rational belief about whether God exists or not. Now, strong agnosticism does commit you to a very robust epistemological claim that nobody can know or have rational belief whether God exists. But weak agnosticism is just saying I'm without belief in God. So for Lacktheism, the Lacktheist, if they're just a person that says I'm without belief in God, you can say, okay, you don't have any burden of proof. Well, yes and no. Burden of proof arises when you are in a discussion with another person with whom you disagree. And each party to that discussion offers a dissenting perspective, and each person thereby commits to arguing for their position or explaining why it is that they hold their position, articulating the rationality, the coherence, the meaning of their position to the other party in the discussion. The moment that you enter into that kind of discussion, you have a burden of proof. So yeah, you can sit on the park bench and be a Lacktheist and not talk to other people if you want, and you have no burden of proof. But the second you enter into conversation with somebody else, you thereby assume a burden of proof in the conversation. Just consider an analogy. Let's say a person describes himself as a lack realist. Well, what's a lack realist? A lack realist, they tell you, is that it's not that I believe there is no world external to my mind, it's that I simply lack belief that there is a world external to my mind. I'm without belief that there is anything other than my mind. There could be, I'm not saying there isn't, but I just lack that belief either way. So I'm a lack realist. Now, if you met a lack realist, I'm assuming you're probably yourself not a lack realist, right? You are probably a realist. Maybe you are a principled anti-realist or something else. But whatever you would be, you would then want to ask the next question. Well, why are you a lack realist? Explain your views. Articulate your views to me. And if that person now wants to continue in this rational conversation, this exchange of different views, they have entered into an obligation, a burden of proof to explain the grounds, the rationality, the coherence, the meaning, the purpose, the significance of their lack realism. It's precisely the same when we talk about Lacktheism. You can be a Lacktheist all you like and sit on the park bench and not talk to other people. But if you want to get up off the park bench and have a rational conversation with somebody else, with a strong agnostic or with an atheist or with a theist or something else, you now enter into a conversation, which includes rational burdens of proof, expectations within the conversation that you're going to reason and offer understandable arguments and a coherent explanation for what Lacktheism is and why you are a Lacktheist. So sure, you can be a Lacktheist and not have a burden of proof, just like you can be anything else and not have a burden of proof if you don't want to talk to anybody. But the second you want to have a conversation with somebody else, you do enter into a burden of proof.